What up, YouTube? It's your brother Trey, man. Thank you for tuning in. So, what I am doing is I'm going to bring you along with my book journey. I read a tremendous amount of books. What I'm reading today, you guys, is Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. I'm already on page 36 with it, so I'm not going to go back. I think it'd be nice. Maybe I'll consider going back. Maybe I'll consider going back and rereading some of these sections with you. But what I'm going to do on this channel as well, in addition to the content I already do, is I'm going to read sections from the book on camera. I already read a lot, so I decided to go ahead and bring you guys in with this kind of concept that I actually read myself, you guys. It's really good. I know you're going to like it. I want all of you guys to bond with me and learn with me off of some shit like this. So this one is called Why There Are So Many Emotionally Immature Parents. And so I got this right here for us. So you can see me on the bottom right hand corner. I'll be talking to you guys from over here reading it, but you'll be able to see where I'm at on this main screen right here. So why there are so many emotionally immature parents. It says, many of my clients have shared stories that reflect the emotional immaturity of their parents. For me, this begs the question of what could have caused so much emotional underdevelopment in so many parents. Based on my observations and clinical experience, it seems likely that the parents of many of my clients were emotionally shut down as children. As my clients and I have explored their family histories, they've often recalled evidence of great unhappiness and tension in their parents' early lives. Substance abuse, abandonment, loss, abuse, or traumatic immigration experiences hover in the family background, suggesting an atmosphere of loss, pain, and disconnection. Many people have told me that, although they felt discounted or abused, it was nothing compared to the stories their parents told about their own childhood misery. So, based off that, off the rip, you guys, what it sounds like is that life, absolutely, the quality of life was absolutely like not like it is today for our grandparents and let alone our parents. So um, that's really good. By the way, before I continue with this, I guess I should let you guys know about what the book is about. So it's adult children of emotionally immature parents. How to heal from distant, rejecting, or self-involved parents. So this is about going into the mindset of some parents and how to identify what emotional maturity means. Emotional maturity is a it's sort of a pseudoscience. I'm not going to say pseudoscience, but emotional maturity, everyone has emotions. There are people that are 40 and still lash out like they're 16. There are people who are 16 that talk and act like 40-year-old men and women. And it's all a bit of a mindset and the things that you kind of go through. This book talks about parents, people that birth other children and are very emotionally immature, and what that causes. And so that's why this is a really interesting book, you guys. So let us continue. So it says on the next page here, it says, often the relationship between a client's mother and maternal grandmother was conflictual and unsatisfying, even though the grandmother might have become a nurturing figure for the client. Let me reread that. It says, often the relationship between a client's mother and maternal grandmother was conflictual and unsatisfying, even though that grandmother might have become a nurturing figure for the client. It seems that many of my clients' parents never had a supportive or emotionally intimate connection with their own parents, so they developed tough defenses to survive their own emotional loneliness early in life. It's also important to remember that old school parenting, the upbringing my clients' parents experienced, was very much about children being seen but not heard. Physical punishment was not only acceptable, it was condoned, even in schools, as the way to make children responsible. For many parents, spare the rod and spoil the child was considered conventional wisdom. They weren't concerned about children's feelings. They saw parenting as being about teaching children how to behave. It wasn't until 1946 that Dr. Benjamin Spock, in the original version of his megaseller, The Common Sense Book of Baby and Child Care, sounds like a very interesting book, widely popularized the idea that children's feelings and individuality were important factors to consider, in addition to physical care and discipline. Ooh. In the generations before this shift, parenting tended to focus on obedience as the gold standard of children's development, rather than thinking about supporting children's emotional security and individuality. So, that's huge. That's actually really huge. I'll reread that one more time. It says, in addition to physical care... Okay, so there's a book called The Common Sense Book of Baby and Child Care that when this came out, for the first time ever in like mainstream society thinking, it became popularized to the idea that children actually have feelings and individuality is actually important in addition to physical care of a child, right? This was groundbreaking at the time. So this means that a lot of parents, our parents, grandparents, weren't even thinking about that, let alone in a book. This was in a book. It's not like this was popularized on like TV. Maybe it was on TV, but not like it is today, right? You can get on YouTube and look up some shit like this, and then bam, you got the answer. Back then, they had no Amazon, they had no YouTube. I could just ship this book to, like, if I want to buy a book, I'd literally get it the next day because of Amazon. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have that at that time, so it's really, information is really different. And so in the generations before the shift, parenting tended to focus on obedience as the gold standard of children's development, rather than thinking about supporting children's emotional security and individuality. I feel like I'm butchering the children's part. It's probably annoying a bit of you. I apologize for that. So it says supporting emotional security and individuality. Emotional security and individuality. Shut the fuck up with the crying. Oh man, I gotta stop cussing. Jeez. Sorry, I broke the third wall. Cause I gotta get better with this, man. I can't be cussing all the time. So, emotional security. People didn't care. They didn't care about your feelings for real. They just told you to get over it. Go to your room. So you learn how to cope with it yourself. You learn how to internalize your feelings. You don't know how to like articulate it and comment on it. It feels uncomfortable to speak from the heart, speak how you truly feel about certain things. But people inside know that something's not right. You know something's not right. There's this little veil of this wall that's thick. It's like fog between us. We both know this fog is here. If we could just pierce that, fulfilling conversation, good nourishment for the soul conversations are possible. But we just got to open up the heart. We got to open up our emotions. We've got to be a lot more like divergent from the experience you had growing up. If you can step outside of your experience for a little bit and observe your experience like a scientist or a cartographer or somebody finding Lewis and Clark's journal or something, you know what I mean? Look at your experience and learn some stuff from that. Look at it from a lens of this type of like mindset right here, My parent actually, that makes sense. I remember my mama personally telling me about kids getting whooped in school. So, screw how your feelings are. You ain't obeying the teacher. Oh, you getting the paddle. You getting that butt whooped, right? In front of everybody too. You don't want that to happen. You better do what they say. This is what they face in school. We don't have to face those types of things anymore. There's definitely going to be a difference in the way we connect and the way that we talk and stuff like that. So if there has to be, if the way to bridge generations and communicating when it comes from this type of lens lies in identifying and understanding that our upbringings absolutely affect the way we communicate. Millennials, me, I'm coming from a place where I don't know anything about our teachers putting hands on us. We putting hands on the teacher before anything else. And you coming from a school where the teachers are going to beat your butt, and then you go home, and your mama or your daddy find out you got beat at school, you getting beat at home too. So you getting mollywopped from both sides of the court. So it's different. We almost feel we feel so much more empowered we are about a lot more empowered in our generation than, you know. So, wow, that's actually deep. That makes me think about my dad and my mom differently too. I never even asked my dad about, like, did he get whooped in school? Man, he actually didn't even finish high school. I forgot. Yo, it was different times. He was rolling with a rap group, matter of fact, in California, and he was getting on radio shows and stuff like that. But never really. My dad was in touch with his emotions. Like, I would see him be emotional sometimes, but when it came to him and I talking emotionally, it just never really happened like that, like, ever. You know. I remember the feelings between him and I, like, just, at least when I look on camera, like, now, I'm kind of, it's not that I'm numb to everything, it's just that I've kind of accepted it, you know? I've accepted the way that life has, like, handed you, like, handled you, shall I say. You can't control certain things, but you can learn certain lessons from it. So, man, that was a good little subsection. It's taken me forever to read this book because it is so good. It is so good. There's so many things that you can deconstruct and reflect on. I like this. I like that. Think about your grandparents differently too. So, I guess we can continue. This is Ellie's story, right? Let's see. It says, in the following stories, you can see the passed down effects of old school parenting on my clients. Ellies Story. Oh, let me go ahead and switch the camera. All right, so this is Ellie's story, y'all. This is Ellie, the oldest child in a large family, remembered her mother, Trudy, as, quote unquote, a generous person but hard as a rock. Trudy was active at church and in the community and had a reputation as being kind and helpful. But when it came to empathy for her children's feelings, she was impervious, like impenetrable. Like, it almost felt like she never felt any emotions. She didn't care about her children's having any emotion. That's what it sounds like. Ellie had frequent nightmares and depended on a favorite stuffed animal to soothe her. One night, when Ellie was about 11 years old, her mother suddenly took her comforting stuffed animal and said, I'm giving this away. You're too old for this. When Ellie begged her mother not to, Trudy told her she was being ridiculous. Although Trudy took good care of Ellie physically, she had no feeling for Ellie's emotional attachment to a precious toy. Jeez. Ellie was also deeply attached to a cat who had been in the family since she was a toddler. One day, when Ellie came home from school, Trudy announced that she had given the cat away because it had messed in the house. Ellie was devastated, but as Trudy told Ellie years later, we didn't give a damn about your feelings. We just kept the roof over your heads. Ooh, she got bars. Her mama got bars. She said, we didn't give a damn about your feelings. We just kept the roof over your heads. Get your ass back in there in your room and color on some books or something. No, that's actually kind of sad, man. That's actually really kind of sad. But it gives you an example and lets you know, like, kind of what's, like, going on, you know? So, let's continue. It says Sarah, whose mother was emotionally inhibited and standoffish, had a strict, this is Sarah's story. Sarah, whose mother was emotionally inhibited and standoffish, had a very strict upbringing. She remembers that her mother always seemed to be holding herself back emotionally, as if behind a gray wall. But Sarah cherishes a memory of a morning when her mother stood quietly by her bed, fondly watching Sarah sleep before waking her up. Sarah was already partly awake, but she didn't move so she could enjoy this moment of secret closeness with her mother. Once she was fully awake, the wall went back up and her mother kept a quote-unquote proper distance. Interesting. I'm going to read that one more time. Sarah, whose mother was emotionally inhibited and standoffish, had a very strict upbringing. So the mother, or Sarah, whose mother, okay, she remembers that her mother always seemed to be holding herself back emotionally, as if behind a great wall. But Sarah cherishes a memory of a morning when her mother stood quietly by her bed, fondly watching Sarah sleep before waking her up. Sarah was already partly awake, but she didn't move so she could enjoy this moment of secret closeness with her mother. Once she was fully awake, the wall went back up and her mother kept the proper distance. That wall went up. That wall went up like that little that 5 wall jutsu that Jirai and the senseis and stuff do. Yeah, I'll have to probably find a clip of that. But dang, that's yeah. That'll do it to you, man. That'll do it to you. So, um, I think I'm done for that one, man. That's some really that's some really crazy things to think about. You know, I think it's really interesting. I wonder how that makes you guys feel. What's that make you think about your parents? Do you think of them differently? Can you learn something differently now if you were to think about how they grew up? You know? Yeah. Well, with that being said, man, I hope y'all enjoy that, man. That's it for me, man. I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.